to the main dwelling. Normally, we do require garden suites to be located within the rear yard or interior side yard of a property. However, in this case, we are supportive of it being located in the front yard as shown, given the fact that there are natural heritage features in the rear yard, and in requiring them to be located in the rear yard brings the suite that much closer to them. So if we can keep the distance, that is preferred. So in this instance, we are supportive of it. Given this, we are here in support of the application, and we do recommend that Township Council approve the application here tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from councillors regarding the staff report? Nope, I'm not seeing any. Does the applicant or agent wish to speak regarding this application? Nope. Are there any interested parties in attendance who wish to speak to this application? Not seeing any. Are there any members of council that have any questions or require any further information for clarification? Not seeing any. This application will be dealt with by council at its regular meeting immediately following this public meeting, and I will now officially close this public meeting and a resolution to rise, please.
Be it hereby resolved that the public meeting be adjourned and that the regular meeting of council reconvene.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Dement. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you very much.
Be it
Sorry, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that council approves the zone change application submitted by Donald Mader, whereby lands described as part Lot 20, Concession 9, Blenheim, as in 433815, STA 11452, Township of Blandford-Blenheim, are rezoned from A2 SP with a special provision to permit a garden suite on the subject property as a temporary use for a period of 20 years.
Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Demarest. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. We'll go into delegations now. I think we have Dean Smith from IntelliVote Systems. That's virtually.
Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me all right, Dean? Oh, there he is up there.
Hi.
Okay, you can hear me okay? No. He's having trouble hearing me. Okay, can you hear me now okay? No? You're muted.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So there is a few people in the audience here today. I'll just let you know we're possibly thinking of doing an internet method for voting at the next election in a year. So this is this person here is going to do a little demonstration on how that would work if we decide to go that route. So on that, saying that, if you want to go ahead, Dean, you're welcome. Okay, Dean, can you hear okay?
I can hear, but it's breaking up. The conversation is breaking up.
You're good and clear if you want to go ahead.
Go ahead and do your
Okay.
presentation. Oh, okay. I can hear that.
Yeah, you're clear.
Is it okay? Yep.
Yep.
Can you see my presentation?
Yep.
I didn't hear any confirmation, so I'm assuming things are all right. Okay.
His audio from Adam's computer.
Okay, thanks very much for the opportunity to present today. My name's Dean Smith. I'm the president here at IntelliVote Systems. And what I wanted to do is give you an opportunity to look at something that's going on across Ontario and has been since really 2006, is the use of electronic voting as an option in an election. What I'd like to do, I realize I only have a short period of time with you, but I'd like to give you a little perspective on IntelliVote, who we are and our projects and our clients, just to put it all in perspective, but also address what I think are going to be the most common questions, give you a little indication on what each of the major players during an election has the capability to do with electronic voting, and then give you an actual presentation on the voting process itself. So IntelliVote is a Dartmouth, Nova Scotia company. We're one of only 3 actual Canadian companies that are doing this. There are several other US-based and Israeli and Spanish companies that have played in the space. So I'd like to say, in all the presentations I've been doing to councils and a lot of the other folks now, is any money you spend with IntelliVote gets spent and stays in Canada as opposed to being shipped overseas somewhere. We are the leader in the number of Canadian municipal elections that have been delivered. Basically, Ontario and Nova Scotia are the 2 existing Canadian provinces that have municipal election acts that actually allow for alternative forms of voting, which actually includes internet and telephone voting. IntelliVote is widely considered one of the leading experts. I spend a lot of my time working with entities like First Nations, unions and associations, other municipal government sectors, the federal government, on matters associated with electronic voting that include legislation and the procedures and actually election management. As I mentioned, we do a lot of work in Ontario every 4 years, and in the every second year we also do work in Nova Scotia. You can see by the numbers there after the actual years. In the most recent time in 2022, we had, out of the a little over 200 municipalities that used electronic voting, we delivered 102 of them simultaneously. At the same time, over the same periods of time, all culminating on election night. And one of the things that's interesting is that we have done a lot of work down in the Oxford range of municipalities down there. And one of the things, talking to Sarah, we talked about the opportunity to leverage the fact that we across Ontario in 18 different combinations of counties and regions, we aggregate the number of municipal electors or eligible electors for the municipality and use that as a basis of setting pricing for it. So the economies of scale for us to be able to have geography and do a Zoom call and do training for folks who have similar geography and different and similar requirements is pretty advantageous to us, and from a pricing point of view, pretty advantageous to the municipalities. Our work in Nova Scotia, just this past October, we delivered, out of the 49 municipalities, we delivered 44 of them with electronic voting. The other 5 were basically considering and still using paper ballot, or they had fully claimed election. And that translated through to 92% of the entire voting population in Nova Scotia lived in a municipality that used e-voting. We did that again previously in 2020, right in the middle of the COVID, and some of the voter participation rates were astronomical. We had several municipalities that actually tripled their turnout. They went from, say, 25 to 28% up to over 70% voter turnout. And I'd like to say they were excited about electronic voting, but they couldn't do anything else to vote other than actually go to the polls electronically. So it was easier, and as you'll see briefly, the capability to be able to vote from anywhere in the world or on the internet or anywhere in continental North America to use the phone translates through to some pretty significant participation rates. About 85% of our business is with unions and associations, and we run, I'm looking at my board here, we're running 8 elections actually currently today, spread across Canada and in a couple of the US states, for example, where we deal with the state of Washington and the state of Alaska with their labor relations boards who may have folks that they're working with there. But the federal government, the embassies and consulates around the world, for the staff and the people that work there, we run all their elections that may be for their professional associations. Hopefully for us, but not for everybody else, that the Cup W coming up will require a vote on a collective agreement. We do the 55,000 people there that will be doing that, and we do that for United Steelworkers, PSAC, a lot of the major ones, as well as the Canadian Labor Relations Board. One of our biggest customer segments now is Aboriginal First Nations, with the notion of self-governance coming, and a lot of them moving towards that. For example, the Métis Nation of Alberta, with 60,000 eligible members, have switched to electing their own councils from across the entire province, and for all the different regions they have. So that's all moved to electronic voting, and we deliver those types of services. This past weekend, we delivered our 24th leadership election. We elected a new premier in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Yeah, so we would be over there for 2 days working with them, culminating at their convention. So additionally, political parties, both at the provincial and the federal level, use our system for riding elections. So when you have 2 or 3 different people looking to be on the ballot for one of the political parties, very often they'll have anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 people that are eligible to vote in that constituency for seeing which candidate they want, both at the provincial and federal level. So as we come up to the last federal election, I think we did over 63 riding elections where they had, over the course of several months, to try to figure out exactly who was going to be on the ballot for that particular party. So I want to deal with probably the most common questions I get from council when I make these types of presentations. The most common thing is the notion is that older voters don't know how to vote online. It's the single biggest misconception about electronic voting, is that older citizens don't know how to vote or don't know how to use the internet. Older voters over the age of 60 in electronic voting vote twice as much as the younger cohorts in, say, the 18 to 25 segment. So we know they vote, we know they like to vote, they have a history of voting. A lot of them can't get out, they may be infirm, they may be in retirement home, or they may be traveling on snowbirds and stuff like that. They vote, and it's easy to do it. They use the telephone, probably at 20% rate, which is higher than most cohorts in there. So if you get to the 40-year-old rates, it's probably about 5% or 6% that vote by telephone. The rest of them vote very much by a smartphone or a tablet. My mom's 98. She voted in the last Nova Scotia election, and she used her tablet. She has absolutely no idea how the internet works. All she knows is she can type in some information, and it brings her to the site, and it's pretty straightforward for voting for there. People are concerned that you'll know how somebody voted. You can't be in this business and enable somebody to see how somebody else voted. Table stakes for everybody is security and integrity of the ballot. So that's a key point that I want to make sure everybody understands. How do you know who's voting the pin? We don't. We know that we deliver. If you steal somebody's mail, the mail out that goes out, you break 5 Canadian laws if you open and you use the mail, you use the contents of the mail to your advantage. So we say it's illegal that people steal pins. We rarely see anything that's basically being done. One of the interesting things is if somebody's expecting a pin and they don't get it, they call your helpline, and they can look and see if the pin's been voted. If it hasn't been voted, the pin PIN typically is replaced, and they give the information to the person on the phone who has to authenticate to the voter, the voter assistance folks who will be people at your municipality. I'd be lying to you if say I didn't think there was ever somebody in the head of the household that's going to vote them. It's notoriously happens for leadership elections where somebody, you can actually register 14 or 15 or 16-year-olds to vote in it, and lots of times they don't know or they don't care, and the head of the household is a diehard user, so they register them, and in most cases those get emailed out to them. So that's a known, I won't say it's an issue, but it's a known thing that happens, and everybody plays by the same rules there, basically. Some people suggest that if it's so easy to do, people will just, on a lark, just say, okay, I'll go in and vote, and I'll just create an uninformed vote. Well, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're living in the municipality, and you're over the age 18, there's no IQ test, you basically get the right to vote in Canada. If somebody didn't get a PIN, as I mentioned earlier, basically a PIN can be provided by the electoral authorities. It will happen in your election if you send out mail to people, they have moved, or for some reason it gets returned back to the clerk's office, they can actually disable that PIN and reach out to the elector when they call in, or in advance of them calling in, and just say, we got your mail back here, what's your address? Because where we mailed it, it said return to sender. So they will get a PIN, and because typically these run over anywhere between 8 to 15 days, there's always time for that. Cost is a big issue, a big question. Electronic voting, the way we deliver it, is typically 60% of the cost of a paper-based election. There are some other variables. If you want to have a paper-based election at the same time, it probably balances out. You will have, in most cases, you have 75% of the actual voting locations. Like if you only had 3, for example, you could get by with 1 voting location that you have people come to. People will vote electronically before they go out and try to vote by paper if it's a convenience issue to them at all. And where has it been done before? Well, I briefly showed you in the previous slide where we actually do the work. When you do an electronic election, we don't run the election. What we do is we take our direction from the clerks. 95% of the preparation, the training, all the other work associated with setting up the election is done by us. When the time comes to run the election officials, the clerk, and an auditor that's required to be brought on board. Now, the auditor typically is somebody within the municipality or a neighboring municipality where you swap horses with. So I know at Oxford County, when we had Zora and some of the other ones there, they switched. They said, well, we'll have one person audit your election. You can do somebody to do ours. So there's an audit process that goes along that makes sure that when the system is set up, all the candidates are there. The audio prompts that speak their names are the right way you speak that name. So those types of modules are in place already. Additionally, I mentioned already the voter helpline. So anybody calls into the voter helpline and is looking to vote, or I know you have an at-large election where your council is selected by, pick 5 from a list of 9 or 10. But if the person is moved and they're in a different riding, if you have wards, that information can be adjusted by the voter helpline. So assistance by your municipality staff will be something that'll be able to do that. The candidates are allowed by legislation to get a list of participating voters during an election. Typically, that may be a scrutineer sitting at a table striking the names off the list, or if it's a vote by mail capability, they'll work with the clerk's office to get a list on a regular basis. What happens with electronic voting, you actually have access to a model or to a module that allows you to see who has voted and who has not yet voted in an election. So obviously, the candidate module assists you in getting the vote out. It's the number one benefit that we hear from candidates, in that they don't have to, they can actually run it on their smartphone, they can walk down Main Street, and they can actually say, show me everybody on Main Street that hasn't voted yet, and what their address is and sort that in order of street number. And you can go knock on doors or drop leaflets in. So it's a very, very powerful mechanism, and everybody is equal from that point of view. In other words, if you have, somebody who has a big campaign and they're getting the vote out, calling those people because, they may know their name and their number because they happen to be, already registered with them. The elector list doesn't have their email address or anything but their civic address on it in order to reach them. So lots of times walking down the street, getting out to the person is something that's very easy to do when you've got the candidate module. This is what the elector letter typically looks like. You'll have, everybody will get one of these in the mail. It'll have their name, it'll have their school support, their address, their qualifying address, and their PIN number will be there. It's typically a 12-digit PIN. The voting period's there, how they can vote. If you want to have a location on the Electronic Voting Assistance Center, in this particular case for this municipality, they had it at Frank Street up on these dates. So you can go there, there'll be a PC set up or tablet set up there. So people who are driving home from work and didn't have their PIN with them, they could go in there. Or those are people who may need some assistance. Maybe they don't have a PC or an internet-enabled device, and maybe they don't even have a telephone. I guess probably they could go in and vote there, but pretty much everybody has access to a telephone. On the back of the letter will be information about the qualifications to vote, some information about what you can't do, the voter helpline with the hours of operation on it, and last but not least, candidate information. If there's an acclamation, similar to your last election where your worship, the mayor was acclaimed, that the name of the person acclaimed will be there instead of the candidates, obviously. So make sure people don't expect to see a mayoralty election if they didn't see signs or didn't know about it. When they get this information, they'll have that type of information available to them. Okay, so now what I want to do is flip over to an actual voting session. And let me just pull this over. I can't tell whether everyone's hearing me or not, but you can see the new, great, thank you, okay. So this is a voting session. What happens is, oh, you can't see the screen. I wonder if that was changed. I'm going to have to reshare it, I guess, because I moved it. Share. Screen 3 and share. There you go. Great, thank you. So what you have here basically is a session that you would have. It would have your municipal logos up on the top on the masthead area, and you would get the instructions that you know. So you'd go to the website that was so that I showed you on the voter instruction letter, and what you do basically is you put in your date of birth. So the date of birth is not on the letter that's sent out, obviously. The PIN is there, your date of birth you know, and the elector list and the system knows it. So that's the second point of authentication to somebody, so they can't find a letter blowing down the street and pick it up and actually cast a ballot without somehow deducing someone's actual date of birth. So this particular person is April Fool's Day. The PIN number is going to be 85, 57, 4. So you put the PIN in, and also you can obviously see the PIN if you don't know whether you did it properly or not. So I'm running this on another system, so what I'm going to do is just exit and get back in. I apologize here. I'm just going to have to do this and re-kick this off. It times out when you're when you haven't done it, haven't gone back in for a while. And I'm just going to swing this out of the way over here. All right. Are we back?
Yep.
Good, great. So once again, I'm going to have to re-enter the credentials because I was away too long. So if you do what I just did there, which is, if somebody puts in the same pin and they've used it already, it'll come up with this message. So one of the things a lot of people do is when they actually go back into the system to check to see whether or not they voted and their vote's in there, actually this message comes up. So what I want to do is, once again, apologize and go back in here again. When you test, you shouldn't test with the number you're going to use in the demo. So let's do it one more time. Should remember it now. I'm obviously just using the same date that we got. So 6036. Okay, so what happens is you get a view of the ballot. It's a composite ballot similar to perhaps the paper ballot you had before when you might have been using tabulators and processing them through tabulators where you can vote in all the different categories. So you get your mayoralty election. It gives you the instructions on, obviously. So I'm from Cole Harbour in Nova Scotia here. So Sidney, my son was a goaltender who played against Sidney Crosby. Which is why my son isn't in the NHL, but Sidney is, so he had lots of goals scored on him. Nathan Kiddebrip, so, or you can decline it, okay? So basically I've made the mayoralty choice. And by the way, if you click on anything else in the other things, the other lines, you actually make a selection. So especially for people who are using a tablet, for example, they may have trouble trying to hit the little box, so they can actually hit the line associated with it. It makes it easier. Once again, the accessibility requirements for Ontario are very particular about everything from the size to the whether or not the WCA accessibility requirements are met, and our system clearly meets all those. This is an example of a multi-select, which is what you folks in your municipality have. So you can select two. And if you try to select the fourth, obviously, the message comes up and tells you that your option limit is only 3. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to undervote this ballot. It's not unusual for people in a multi-select to only vote for their candidate of choice so they don't give every one of the other competitors an equal number of votes. So we're going to undervote that. And in the last one, this one you can select 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to decline to vote this one. It's not uncommon. Almost 15% of the ballots that are cast in Ontario for school boards never get cast. In other words, they vote the mayor and the council, but they don't put a ballot in for the school board. That's not unusual, and for paper voting either. So what I have the option to do down the bottom here, I can hit the continue button. And what it's doing is it's coming up and telling me the mayor's vote is going to be for Sidney Crosby. It says I can make an additional selection because I've only selected 2, and I'm not going to be voting the school board ballot. So those are the types of combinations you think. If I want to go back to Ward 2 and add another person, I'm going to click on the change button, and I'm scroll down and I'm going to add Grant Fiore. and then just go down continue. So I've corrected that, and now you can see the Ward 2, 3 candidates, and the trustee is there. My final step is a confirmation that I hit, and this gives me an indication that the vote has been successfully recorded in the system. There are some systems, and we have the capability in our system as well, to provide a receipt, and the receipt will be something that you can check later to see whether or not your ballot is still in the system. Interestingly enough, when in the 2022 elections, the notion of having a receipt and having people go back and check it later was it was used in, I think, of the electronic voting ones, I think 16 of them, 16 different municipalities, and 0.02% of all the eligible voters actually went back in and checked it. Most people take the perspective that if the clerk's office and people tested this beforehand, I think I voted, I'm satisfied with that, thanks very much. If you want to check, you could go back in and enter your credentials, and you saw what come up previously when I entered one that I'd already voted, saying you've already successfully voted in this. So that's a majority of what people do. If you're doing it on the phone, it gives you a series of digits that you can put in, which assumes you have a pen right there. So we don't use it, and I don't think any of the municipalities of the 102 we did last time actually wanted it. It's a trust factor that the clerk has already gone through everything that they need to go through in order to successfully do that. Okay, can I take any questions? I realize I'm probably over my time, but if anybody's got a question that I can hear.
Okay, yeah, so if we have any questions from council, we'll direct them over to Adam because for some reason our mics aren't working. I'll maybe go through each person if they have any. I have one, I think I know the answer, but I just want to double check. Does a landline work as well?
Does a landline work as well?
Yes, any telephony, and also any web-enabled device. So if you have a smartphone, if you have a gaming station, anything that's internet-enabled actually allows you to get to the actual thing. And also you can vote on your smartphone with the data portion, or you can call the 1-800 like a regular cellular phone. But certainly we have lots of folks voting by landline.
Okay, and I'll go around. I'll start with Daryl. Did you have anything, Nancy?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Bruce? And Tina? Nope. Anything else here? No? Okay, we don't have any more questions?
Okay, well, I appreciate the time. If anybody has any additional questions after the fact, they can talk to Sarah, and then maybe we can touch base and get back to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so we have a resolution for that?
Be it hereby resolved that the delegation from Dean Smith regarding vote by internet method be received as information.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Young, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Normally, I don't do this, but since I have a few people in the audience, I'm just curious. That one of the main reasons, well, there's two reasons. One, it's cheaper to do. The other is hopefully trying to get the younger demographic to vote. So just my one concern is I don't want to have all the younger ones vote and then some of the older ones say, I'm not doing that, I don't know how to do it. So I'm just kind of curious because we got a difference in age, and I'm not sure whether you were paying attention a little bit to it or not, but I'm just curious if anybody has any comments on or concerns or whatever on it that's sitting in the crowd. Don't be shy, just curious if anybody has anything at all. Would it change, I guess one question I ask, would it change you from voting or not voting? No? No?
No, to begin with, it wouldn't change, but I see where you're coming from, where the younger voters may latch onto this, where older voters
Yeah.
might be a side. I mean, he's talking about older voters being over 60. If he was here, we may have a further conversation in the parking lot. He's a little older. But anyhow, I would be okay with it, but I'm wondering about.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for the older voters, I think some of them, or a lot of them will basically defer it to their kids to do it for them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to find a lot of kids annoyed. But now they have to do this as well. Just go check your paper and be gone.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
And I'm not 100% certain that his, but I trust the numbers he used or percentages for older voters using it.
Yeah.
It doesn't qualify for older voters using it unassisted.
Yeah. And I think, like even today at some of our paper elections, some of the older voters get assistance as well, I believe, when they come in. So I guess for council, I mean, obviously, we're looking at it because it can save us quite a bit of money, but I still want to make sure people are going to vote. It's nice that we can save money, but if it means that we're going to get the younger people voting and the older people go, yeah, I'm not going on that. Like, I know personally my mom, she was 92. She would never do this by herself. Like, that is, there's no doubt in my mind she would not do that herself. So anyway, that's, I just was, yeah. Yes, and that's what I worry about. Go ahead.
Could you have an option where somebody could come into the office and vote? As
Yes.
an alternative? Because
Yep.
there are a lot of tech savvy, like more tech savvy than I am, older people.
Yep, absolutely.
like me, Who
Yep.
send emails to their family and post
Yep.
pictures and do everything. But I still would like the option that if someone wasn't comfortable doing stuff on their phone, that they could come into the office and
Yep.
tick their choice.
I know we've kind of talked as council too of the option of, like, say, some of our senior centers of physically going to that senior center and setting up, like, we could even set up a day voting there that other seniors from those villages could come as well. So I just, like I say, I just wanted to, it was nice that we had kind of a different range of age in the audience that I can kind of ask that. Yeah, go ahead.
Personally, I would rather not do that in a provincial election or federal election, but I think it's a great idea for municipal elections.
Yeah.
But do it as often as you need to answer questions.
Yeah.
I ended up, I lived in Chatham for some time and had a real battle with the municipality. And it made me think I want more voice. The crux of it was we didn't need most of the council because they were forced to vote by the way admin told them to vote.
Yeah.
And whether that applies anywhere else or not, I don't know, and I would never make that accusation. But it did start me with the fact that it's far too easy for a municipality to set up touchscreen voting stations, and you can have your council meeting and put all the questions on that the next day, and you can collect your data from the different regions using their phone number, and the next month you've got actual constituent data.
Yeah. I know, I'm still a little bit on the old school side.
Yep.
My concern is, like, I look at my name on the ballot and I go there to vote, and I still have to show my ID, even though I've known the person that's doing it, which is law, they have to do that, but it seems odd that, this way. But there is some security features. You have to have the PIN number, you have to have a birthday. If somebody's willing to go that far to break the law, then I guess, that's good for them. But, okay, well, thank you very much. I just, like I say, we just happen to have a good group here, and I wanted to ask that question. So, okay, and our next, we already did the resolution, right? Yep, okay, so our next delegation is Alan Dick, resident of Plattsville, speeding on River Road in Plattsville. And if you come up to the mic here, please. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. Appreciate you having me here. And I appreciate you giving me this time to talk. I will be brief. I won't go as long, as certainly not as flashy as Mr. Smith's, but hopefully it'll get the point across. Unfortunately, when I was young, before I reached 60, I didn't have to have these, but I'm going to have to throw glasses on because I can't read my own writing, and the font gets bigger and bigger, and my eyes get worse and worse. So,
I know the feeling.
yeah, I think I'm amongst friends here. Sarah, obviously not, but probably for the rest of us. We're addressing the area on River Road from Yonge Street to Township Road 14. So it's fairly short area, about a kilometer long in width. And in that area, we're not looking at the entire area. We know that it's now a 40-kilometer-an-hour zone. Some issues with that, I'll cover that momentarily, but I think we're more looking at an area of about 750 meters of it down toward Yonge Street, down in that area where the river is quite close. It's a narrow road. There is a metal guardrail on the west side in one section, which kind of limits an escape route for pedestrians, cyclists, if there's going to be a collision with a car. It's going to be kind of hard to get over the barricade to avoid the collision. The road's winding. There's trees and bush areas on each side of the road, which is beautiful, especially in the summer months, but it does greatly reduce visibility. And we're certainly not proposing cutting that back. Certainly not. It's, as I say, it's a very nice area to walk. It's quite a scenic area, but it does kind of limit the visibility. There's also issues at night with the lack of street lights or functioning street lights in that area sometimes. Again, greatly reducing visibility and nighttime visibility. I know from my former job, certainly diminishes quite a bit. Granted, there's not as much pedestrian traffic or cyclist traffic at night, but it's not unheard of. I, for one, have walked my dogs out there at night. You are kind of taking your life in your own hands sometimes, but I like living on the edge. So the traffic has been getting heavier along that stretch, both vehicular and pedestrian traffic, as the town grows and as the township grows. Also, the fact that it was paved a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure when. You folks would know. Mr. Borton would know. But I remember a few years ago getting it being paved. We all know that as you pave the road, the speeds go up. It's human nature. People are going to drive faster on paved roads. So traffic's getting heavier, both pedestrian and vehicular. More people walking, including parents with small children, older people, both walking. We've seen more mobility scooters on the road, more bicycles on the road. Kids going to the river to play, kids going to the river to fish. We're getting a lot of crossing because the town is on one side, the river's on the other. They're crossing that road a lot. And again, we run into the problem of visibility and speeds. Appears to be getting worse in the summer months. The winter months, yes, it's out there, but the summer months, it seems to pick up a little bit more. And having lived in that area, I don't live on River Road, of course, but having walked in that area and speaking to the residents there, it is more of a problem in the summer months. And it's a higher use of ATVs lately. We have noticed the ATV, and I know with the passing of legislation allowing them to ride on the road, which is just fine and dandy, and certainly no issues with that. And for the most part, the people out there with the ATVs are very responsible, but it only takes one. And unfortunately, we have more than one in Plattsville, and we have seen them ripping up and down the roads. As I say, by and large, most are very good. Drive by, adhering to speed limits, wave, give you room, but we always have a few. We have humans involved. The speed signs has been reduced to 40 kilometers an hour. It's not really enforceable. Under Ontario Regulation 616, the signs have to be closer than, it can't be more than 600 meters apart. They are. So even if the police were to lay a charge on that, they get off on the charge. Again, because of my former life, I'm quite familiar with that. And so a couple of issues with signage, but I don't think signage is, and I don't think we as a group think signage is going to change anything. You can put signs down to 10 kilometers an hour. People are going to drive like they drive. An area that we've kind of discussed in our small group is enforcement, but I know from bitter experience that you're not going to get a cruiser out there. First of all, there's no place to sit. There's not a lot of quote hiding places for cruisers to sit. Secondly, the vehicular traffic on that road isn't enough to warrant putting a cruiser out there. With their increased calls for service, I think we're seeing less and less OPP cars out there. I'm not afraid to say that. But I don't think we get any enforcement out there or any meaningful enforcement out there. and it really wouldn't be worth the officer's time to sit there, having sat on that side of the car. So we're not, I don't think we're going to get any enforcement. So we've looked into some traffic calming, which is needed to hopefully slow vehicles down. They do have one at the top end of Albert Street as you come into Plattsville. Might be a little questionable, but that's for another day. But numerous studies in Canada, US, Sweden, Australia, Poland, all over the world have come up with traffic calming because it's an international problem. So there's a number of things we can, and I pulled off a whole pile of studies, and I'm not going to bore you with them because they are very boring. But we understand that permanent speed bumps aren't practical on this road. We have an issue in the wintertime with snow removal. The plows going down there are just going to take them out. We're going to be hitting them. We're going to be damaging plows. I'm sure it's not really thrilling for the guy sitting in the snow plow. I think Councillor Barnes can attest to that. And the damage to the bumps and to the plows themselves, I don't think that would be worth it. There's no room for islands. There's no room on that road for putting in an island. It would include widening the road. We don't think that's overly practical, and that's not going to have any effect on ATVs. They have very narrow wheelbase, and they're going to fly through that. They're not going to be affected by it. But again, it would be a lot of money to put that in. A chicane, again, that's going to be big bucks. Speed humps, where we actually have the little island of, again, that's a permanent fixture. Again, we run into the issues with plows and whatnot. So, looking at a number of possible solutions is not going to work on that road. What we're wondering is the removable speed bumps. They're usually some sort of rubberized material. They can be put in, taken out. So put in the spring months to last the spring, summer, and early fall. Take them out just before the snow flies, and then they're out of the way for the snow plows. And I spoke to Mr. Borton before, and I know from speaking to people that are familiar with these things, there's no black magic to putting them in. They can be put in by the roads crew, which are on staff anyhow, so minimal cost. They're running between $100 and $300 is basically what I'm seeing for each section. Now, you'd probably need 2 to cover the width of the road. They've put them in recently in the town of Baden because they've got the road construction in there. But for whatever reason, they left it wide enough between the two that cars can go through it. So I don't know how much of an effect that's having. Again, I'm not an engineer, but something along that line to cover both lanes. So the cars can't go around them, so that ATVs can't go through them. It's forcing them to drive over it. And because River Road is a narrow road, you're not going to need 3 or 4 to go across there. 2 would do. Given that we're looking at an area of about 750 meters roughly, we would need 4 or 5 sections, so 6 to 8 of them. 8 to 10 of them would go in. And again, be put in the spring, taken out in the fall, so that we're not causing problems, we're not getting them damaged. They can be purchased pretty much anywhere. So the benefits we looked at would to this. And we'd also have to put in another small cost would be you'd have to put up signs beside them saying, just warning that they're there. Most people will see them, but we all know in this world of lawsuits that if you don't put up the sign, then you've opened yourself up. So that would be included. But again, the roads guys can put those in. They're putting in signs all the time. So the benefits to the speed bumps would be cost less than other traffic calming measures. The ability to remove them in the winter months. They work for both cars and ATVs because they're both having to drive over them on the road. So long as they can cover the road, so long as we don't leave somebody in out to squeeze an ATV through there. Because if we can do it, they will do it. It doesn't include any major road construction to put them in or take them out, and there's no special equipment required for the installation of those pumps. So that's what we kind of brought to council. We're hoping for that. I don't want to see, in all the years that I worked, I don't want to see anybody get hurt out there. Right now I see with some of the cars, and again, most of the people are pretty good. But it just takes that one clown to cause grief, and then we're dealing with tragedy that could have possibly been prevented. So nobody wants to see that. So that's really our presentation. We're hoping that you folks would consider it anyhow. It's something that the council will consider in the future, and
Okay.
it goes.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Councillor Demers?
Just a quick question
Sure.
for clarification. There's no sidewalks on either?
No,
end
no, and
stands at
I'm
all?
sorry, I should have clarified that. Yes, there are no sidewalks. Yeah, no, that's okay.
One time a year I go, so I just don't remember.
No, and I should have been more clear on that. No, there are no sidewalks. The grass comes right up to the edge of the road. And as I say, there is an area where there's a guardrail on the one side, which limits an escape route down further toward River Road. There's quite a ravine down into some people's backyards down there, which again, for pedestrian, that would be okay. For somebody on a bicycle, mobility scooter, probably not an area of escape. Outside of that, there's grass and brush area on each side. Now, there is fog lines painted out on the west side a little further out to give, I think the idea was a walking lane, but lines painted on roads, they're,
Yeah.
why? That's, people drive over them all the time, so there's nothing to stop. So there is no sidewalk. And I don't know if it would be, I think we're looking at a lot of money to put in sidewalk out there because of just the configuration of the road, what's beside, and the other issue is we've got kids. Yeah,
That's not what I was thinking.
no, it just came to my mind, actually. The other issue there is that the kids want to cross to the riverside of the road, so that's,
Anything else? Councillor Banbury?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, have you been in touch with with Brant County, the Public Works Department?
no, I haven't.
They use these bumps extensively, and they can move them around from one area if there's a hot spot, say in
Yes.
Scotland or
Yes.
Paris or wherever. It's such that they can put them wherever they're needed. I know they had some on Oak Street in Paris there.
Yes, they did. A number of municipalities, when I was working, I was in a lot of municipalities, but Brant is one of them. I did start out of Brant for a while, and I know that they can move them, and that is another advantage. If we find that River Road is, say, we've miraculously cured it, that's great, good for us. If we
certainly
change
makes
water
it
into
slow
wine,
down.
but
There's no doubt.
yeah.
Whether they need to be there year after year, or maybe people get used to
Yeah.
slowing down when they're there. But the fact that you can move them around other
Yeah.
hotspots where there's excessive speed.
Yes, and I agree.
As well.
I think we could monitor that. That's something that we could monitor. We put it in for a couple of years, and then we leave them out for a year and do a speed survey and just see what is going on. And hey, if we're okay, we can move them someplace else for a little while and then move them back again and move them
I haven't been
around.
in touch with anyone from Brant County as to their effectiveness, but
I know they are very effective in
I
other
would think so.
counties. I've spoken to some people in Middlesex County and in Elgin County, and actually up in Huron County, and they've always found that they're very effective. I know as a police officer for 37 years, they were very effective. It certainly slowed traffic down a lot more than having a cruiser, because a cruiser's transient there, and the cost of fixing your suspension is usually a little bit more than a ticket. So, it's yeah.
Anything else from council? I have a list here, actually.
Okay.
I was writing down. So I asked our CAO, I believe he's asked our Director of Public Works. We have the flashing speed signs, and what they do is they record what time of day the person goes through and what their speed is.
Yes.
So I've asked to have them installed in the next day or so. I'm on the Police Services Board as well, so in 2 weeks from today, I have a meeting, so I was kind of hoping that if I could get some information before I go to that meeting, then if there happens to be, like I was saying, we're all creatures of habit. When I went to work within a minute or two every day. So if we see somebody that's at 7:30 in the morning is going excessively over the speed, then we can have some police presence there for a day or two anyway, and I can ask for that at the Police Services Board meeting. So that's something I would like to do if we can get that sign up in the next day or two, and then I can take that data back to there. So that's one thing. Hopefully that'll help. You mentioned about some streetlights. I had somebody tell me there's 2 streetlights out there,
I believe
Last year,
there are,
the
yeah.
last 2?
The last two, okay, these folks would know better than I do. I don't live
If
on
we
the
can
road.
look after, yeah, we'll look after that. We'll try to find out why those streetlights are down. If
Yeah.
they haven't been reported, they won't fix them. So
Yeah.
we'll look at that as well, and that will help up in that area as well. We did put some delineators up there a few years ago. They lasted about 2 days, I think, and they were removed. Somebody
Yeah,
stole them.
That's generous, saying 2 days, because I don't know if they made it that long.
Yeah, I don't think they even
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, they're in somebody's garage now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm actually a little different than I like the speed humps, I call them, not the speed bumps. I know our director of public works maybe doesn't necessarily like them. I look at North Dumfries coming in the back way to the arena. They're all the way down there. I actually went down there. It's a good thing I'm driving my truck. I didn't notice it because I would have lost the bottom of my car. But I'm okay with them. If it takes an extra 30 seconds to plow that road, I'm okay with that, if it saves a life. So I know we've talked about putting them up on in Plattsville on Fennel Street. Yeah, we've talked about doing something up there as well. I know we used to have in Washington the rumble strips, but the problem is if they're right in front of your house, it's nasty.
annoying,
That's
yeah.
why they were removed. So I think we can look at a lot of these things. Maybe we put some removable speed bumps up there, and I find that if they do work, then let's look at doing something permanent.
That would
and
be
Put
fantastic.
a speed
And-
hump there.
I mean, between you and me and a few people in this room, the reason I'm kind of saying the removable speed bumps is just cost. I don't
Cost,
want to go
yeah.
to council and say, hey, folks, you want to
Yeah.
get rid of a pile of money?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my approach, and with that, I was hoping that this would kind of lead to, we're on the same page here. I was hoping that this would lead to where you're going with it, with speed humps. I mean, from a personal end, I like the speed humps better. But I don't know if Mr. Borton does. But I do like the speed humps a little bit better. I think they work a little bit better.
And if they put if they leave that gap as you were talking, the optics behind that is so it's the gap of the fire truck, the ambulance,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's different than my vehicle or standard vehicle.
Yeah.
So they can hopefully
They
go
can
through it a
go
little bit
through it,
quicker
yeah.
if they're in an emergency. That's
Yeah.
why they leave that gap.
And we don't have a lot of tractor trailers and things
Yeah,
like that.
that
But
road,
they're not
yeah,
the problem.
sure.
They're ATVs and there's cars and trucks, like passenger vehicles are the issue.
Yeah.
For the amount of heavy vehicles I've seen down there, next to none. But yes, for fire trucks and paramedic services and whatnot, that's great.
I'm not 100% sure, and we'll have to have some discussions. I'm not sure whether, so all this stuff has to go through our budget.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sure whether we have any room to do it this year. I'm getting some looks, but we'll see. But if definitely not, then I'm going to request that we make sure this is put on our budget for, yes.
If I can make a suggestion, through you, Mr. Mayor, what I can do is I can prepare a report with some different cost analysis on some of the measures that have been brought up. And
Yeah.
Look at my budget and see what I have, and possibly look at doing something as soon as this year, with adding to the budget for 2026.
Okay. Yeah. Like I say, if we can, like maybe if these speed bumps, even if it's kind of the precursor to the speed humps somewhere.
Mr. Mayor, that would be the best option, really.
Yeah.
I think so, and I think these people behind me would agree that would be the best option, put that up in the short term.
Yeah.
And then, as Councillor Banbury said here, you've got the speed bumps. If you're having problems in Princeton,
Yeah.
put them in there. If you're having problems in Overton, put them in there, wherever.
Well,
you're
if
having
we put them on this road and they work, and then we decide to go to a speed hump, then we can take them to somewhere else. They're ours, right?
Railway tracks in Princeton, we don't need speed.
Yeah, you just need the railway tracks.
Yeah, you do have those, don't you?
Yeah, you'll lose the bottom of your car on there, so,
And your teeth. But,
yeah.
but
Okay,
yes,
go ahead, Councillor
I
Demmer.
wonder if we should be considering putting the flashing light in the tracking in midsummer. You'd suggested that, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it now, but to get better metrics,
Yeah.
should we not be trying to do it at the sort of the worst time?
Yeah.
So that, we're not, we get results back and go, well, there's not really a problem
Yeah.
here. maybe do it, July or something. It was just-
Or even if we do it a couple times, we can even,
That's what
That's what I'm wondering,
Yeah.
if we could do it.
Let's not, like, do it now, but,
Yeah.
let's see
Yeah.
worst case scenario.
Yeah, because I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Mayor, is you want this to be able to go to police services.
yeah, well, I have other meetings as they're
Yeah,
going on. I just
yes.
thought I have it in 2 weeks. We only have one left now, right? Yeah, one of ours, we had it on a pole in Wolverton, and they cut the pole off with a chainsaw and took it away, so that's where we lost one of them, so, yeah. Okay.
Years ago, I would have said that surprised me, but no.
Yeah.
Years in policing, it does not surprise me that they took that. That's, again, that's in someone's
Yeah.
garage, but.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
folks.
you.
Appreciate it.
I've added council directs.
Okay.
Be it hereby resolved that the delegation from Alan Dick regarding speeding on River Road be received as information, and further that council direct staff to prepare a report with cost analysis of traffic calming measures.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, so we have a couple delegations that aren't on our agenda, but I'm going to allow them both anyway. The first one is Denise 2, Plattsville Anniversary. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I am here on behalf of the Plattsville and District Heritage Society. I was going to tell you that Plattsville's 225 years, but I've been fact-checking, and Plattsville will be 175 years next year. Settlement is 230 years. So we missed the 225, but we think 175 is quite significant. And we'd like to apply for a grant through Canadian Heritage. It's called the Building Communities Through Arts and Heritage Grant. Big thing, it's due at the end of May. And I do need a blessing from council to apply for this grant. It could be a shot in the dark applying for a grant because you realize funds are limited. But I've been working on the application. We piggybacked on the Plattsville Community Barbecue meeting because service clubs, I'm going to need every service club to be involved. Basically, it will be an enhanced community day. We hold a community day in June in Plattsville every year. We're thinking of holding this on the long weekend in August 3rd on Monday. It has to be based on heritage and history and Indigenous activities. I've already spoken with Mississauga of the First Credit, and he's very excited to pencil us in. He said, we've never been to Plattsville. And I said, it's about time you come to Plattsville. So he said he'd bring 2 people and an information tent and be there. I'm hoping that through the day we can have speakers, like 15, 20 minutes. We're looking at Indigenous dancers. We're looking at heritage displays, which obviously you all know that the Chesterfield Museum, we're very good at that. So we would probably bring everything to the arena. So if it was a rainy day, we have the arena floor to do it. We have upstairs to do it. Hopefully it's going to be a beautiful day, and we could incorporate like the car show. We could bring back roller skating because Plattsville was famous for roller skating. So they tell me that was before, I don't know, my time anyway. But we want to build it on the community, and we'd really like most of the activities all free. I've been doing a lot of research, and they suggest about building a passport to the activities. So every family that comes in, they get a card, and they know everything that's going to happen and what time it's going to happen. And I'm hoping the service clubs will get involved, and we'll have local Lions Club, perhaps, do our barbecue. I really don't want to do the food truck thing because I find it very expensive, way too expensive if you have a family. But hopefully all of the activities would be free. This grant would allow us to provide artisans. We can bring in dancers. We can bring in musical entertainment, and we can pay these people instead of, calling everybody we know and like, hey, would you play for an hour? Would you do this? But it provides grants, money for Johnny on the spots, hand washing stations, because if we do it, you want to have some outside so families have that opportunity. But that's basically our plan. We did have a preliminary meeting, and I have 6 people sitting on a committee to help me plan this. And after I looked at the grant application, I'm like, what the heck am I doing this for? But I think it could be a really great bonus to celebrate Plattsville's 175th birthday. So I think, I'm not sure who Josh is, maybe Josh?
Josh,
Okay.
yes.
I sent him a copy of what I require, basically, a blessing that you're in support of the grant application. Your in-kind donation would be letting us have the arena in the park and for nothing, basically. If you want to give us money, you can do that, but you can't commit to 2026 until 2026. So even if we had the in-kind donation, I would think that would qualify as, a good benefit, so.
Okay.
Certainly,
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and just to address that comment, in our previous discussion, really the grant application is looking for council to endorse it in
Yes.
principle. Obviously, you need, confirmation that it can take place in the arena or that location, so
Right.
we'll be offering that. But then, as discussed, we would expect that you would follow up with the grant process
Yep.
in the 2026 budget deliberations.
Right.
And we would hear further from you at that point.
We'd have a true plan in place, because
Right.
we're busy building.
So the grant application, would this be, I know like each year we allow 10 grant applications.
Yep.
Would this be the Heritage Society's
We're a-
grant?
Yeah.
Or would they want to do a separate one as well for something?
We would have to apply as the Heritage Society.
Okay. So I'm going to ask somebody here. I know we have pre-approved things before. For her application, can we pre-approve it's $1,000 what we give. Can we pre-approve that as a grant application? for
If I
next-
get the grant?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that way
yeah.
you would get the grant. Is that something we are allowed to do as council? I guess we probably could if we can. I don't know if
Yeah.
council has that appetite, but
Through Mr. Mayor, it's your own policy
Yeah.
to follow or to deviate from, so I'd say it's at council's
well,
discretion.
the only reason I'm asking that is because of the time commitment on it by the end of May. We've always given to the Heritage Society, has been one of our grant applications, would be before. Go ahead, Councilor Member.
Yeah, so you're applying for another grant. So the fact that we pre-approve a grant for next year, would that enhance your application?
I think any extra money that I can show that, we can apply up to $200,000. Not that we need $200,000, and it's very limited what you can put in for the $200,000. And the deeper I get into this application, it's very specific what we can apply for. But, and really, if this doesn't happen, we will still celebrate Plattsville's 175th birthday, and it would probably still be our community day that we hold in June, and we would just enhance it with some historical displays and maybe a parade and fashion show or whatever. But
Okay.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just a recommendation, perhaps understanding that the grant application is due at the end of the month.
Yep.
We do have one more meeting in May. I know that when we previously spoke,
Yep.
you wanted to come sooner rather than
Yep.
later, but perhaps, yourself and the committee could prepare sort of a request for
Yep.
council to consider.
And I can share
On the 21st.
better plans.
Right, and then
Yep.
we could, again, I just hate to see you pre-approve something today without, the
Yep.
clarity of exactly what the ask is.
Yep.
But that might be a good way for us to.
Sure, I wasn't sure if you had another meeting. And I'm just like, oh my God.
So we usually allow 10,000 is what we do, and we give 1,000 for each, and our 10 are gone.
Yep.
Already for this year. Otherwise, we could have just,
And our Poppy project,
yeah.
awesome. We won't be applying next year because we won't
Yeah.
need to.
Well, so I think that if that works okay, if that's okay with council, maybe the next meeting, that if you can have another delegation come back and
I'll see who's behind me.
or even just written correspondence is fine.
And I can give you a better plan of what we're planning for the day.
Councillor Bamber.
Mr. Mayor, will the function itself garner any profit or income? Or will there be any charges or all free?
I'm hoping we can keep it free. Besides lunch, you can't get a grant for food. We can pay volunteers, we can buy volunteers jackets or shirts or whatever, but we can feed our volunteers, but we can't feed the public.
Yeah.
So I would hope that would be the
You would
only.
sell souvenirs.
Oh, yeah.
So there
Yep.
might be a little bit of profit.
There could be, but
Minimal.
they even suggest that the souvenirs should be given to people. So
Well, apply
whether it be,
200,000 then.
Sort of like an old,
I'm working on it, but I don't, we'll see
sort of
what
like
we
an
can
old
do.
boys reunion they used to have all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
I think about those.
Drumbo was a big roller skating as well. I actually
Oh, there you go.
roller skated in a tuxedo when I was 11 years old in the Drumbo Arena over here. But
well, maybe there'll be a picture of that
yeah,
somewhere.
there might be somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from council? No. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So I'll keep in touch.
Yep.
Or wait till the 21st.
It's probably worthwhile just to wait at this point.
Yeah.
Be it hereby resolved that the delegation from Denise to regarding Plattsville's 175th anniversary event be received as information.
Okay. Got to get mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Banbury, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and we have one more delegation today, Meredith May Wood from our tourism update. Welcome, Meredith.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Just wait for our presentation, or do we have it on file? Well, that's okay.
I don't think I ever received a,
Well, that's okay. I'm happy to talk.
okay. Is it in that email chain from the request for delegation?
Yes. What if, I know I sent it as a link. It's okay, though.
As a link, okay.
Yeah. It's okay. I have a copy in front of me, and it's basically information I'm sharing, if you're all right with that, and you'll have a copy of it after
Sure.
the fact.
Absolutely.
First of all, thank you very much for having me here tonight. The tourism's been incredibly busy over the last couple of years, and we're excited to provide a bit of an update on what's been happening. If you're not familiar with tourism at the County of Oxford, we're considered what is a destination management organization for the county. And in that role, we have three primary purposes, the first being management. So managing tourism development in the area, looking for opportunities, what the trends are, and then product development, working with the businesses and the nonprofits and the attractions to develop product to bring to visitors, and then marketing of that product. So tourism in Oxford County, it is significant. There's over 190 businesses that we're working with in Oxford County. It's equivalent of 1.4 million nights in Oxford County when we're working with statistics that are available through our industry partners. And that's 670,000 US and Canadian trips. And the average day trip is $90, and then for overnight per person is $244. So when we look at tourism, when we talk about management, we're looking at the trends and what's happening. So we are regularly monitoring what's happening with consumers, and as we all know, right now people are being a little cautious and stepping back a bit. But we also know that people are craving community now more than ever, and they're actually looking for that through their tourism opportunities and what they're going out to do. So the type of immersive travel that we have here actually really speaks to consumers. And when we talk about the product that we have in Oxford County, first of all, culinary tourism obviously is very important with Oxford Fresh, which is our partnership with the Oxford County Federation of Agriculture that promotes people getting out and buying that asparagus. It's available. Very excited. I am having some tonight. And then the Oxford County Cheese Trail, which is over 30 businesses across Oxford County that celebrate our cheese and dairy past and present. So that's from museums to restaurants featuring local cheese to, of course, our award-winning cheesemakers. Then also with that, we're working and we promote cycling. We're actually having a group of 100 people riding tandem bikes coming to Oxford County this month. So cycling is something that's been regularly gaining momentum with people coming for paved, but also a great asset that's available here in Blandford-Blenheim is gravel roads. This is a group that love your gravel roads, and they love to get out and ride on them. And then with that also is experiential tourism. So there's some great examples across the county, and you have several here within Blandford-Blenheim. And those are experiences where people come and it's more immersive. You're not just taking a picture, but you're actually connecting with somebody, hearing their story, and you're getting hands-on. So it's Meet the Bees is a great example. Or having the harvest brunch at Thames River Melons, or going and cuddling, a beautiful little goat or alpaca, or a miniature Highland cow, utterly ridiculous. So there's lots of opportunity. So when we look at the success that we had over the last year, we did a lot of work in a variety of areas. So first of all, we completed our tourism 5-year plan. That was something that we were quite happy to accomplish. And then with that, we also received our silver level designation for sustainable tourism as a destination. And so this is an area that is incredibly important to consumers. I've actually just come back from attending the provincial sustainability conference, and it was a number of 51% of consumers. But then when looking at some countries, it's as high as 90% of consumers are looking for sustainable tourism opportunities. So it's something that consumers are really looking now more than ever. As they travel, they know the impact of travel, they're wanting to lessen it, and they want to have a positive benefit to the communities they visit. When we look at activities for product development, we launched a new program for restaurants last year to help increase traffic during the quieter month of January. We launched Rural Routes, Your Next Stop program, and one of those feature routes was here in Blandford-Blenheim. And it's the Rural Ramble. I suggest you go out and check it out. And Denise's crew at the museum always puts on a great show as part of that. I personally had my picture taken with Santa in the Barbie box, and it was amazing. And then when we look forward, we're working on the 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan it's putting us in a position where we are better situated. We're knowing what consumers are looking for. We're developing tourism that speaks to what the residents, the businesses, and the visitors are looking for. And we're doing it all in a way that has a positive impact on the community. So we're continuing to work on that 5-year plan. And when we look at what we've said in the business plan for 2025, we've got a variety of activities that we have lined up. Just let me bring the list up so I don't miss any of them for you. So one that we're working on right now is our website. So we're really working on improving our measurement and monitoring of what's happening with tourism in the area. We're going to be able to better respond to what the trends are and to support the businesses, and also know what the visitors and residents are looking for. So with that, we're going to have a brand new website and a brand new database to allow us to provide better customer service to consumers, but also to the businesses, as they're going to be able to maintain their own listings on the website and update and add their own events, and even include offers. So if they're an accommodation and they have a package, that's something they can post on there. We're expanding the Your Next Stop program. So as I mentioned, it's here in Blandford-Blenheim. We launched here in Blandford-Blenheim, Southwest Oxford, and Norwich last year. This year, we're currently in the process of going into 3 urban centers with that program. We're also going to be launching a visitor, friends, and family program. So if you think of our logo as Tour Oxford, T-O-U-R, we're actually going to be coloring in the O-U-R as in Our Oxford with a different color, and be running campaigns specifically reaching out to our local residents, because so often if you've lived somewhere a really long time, you don't always know what's around the corner. And sometimes it's our newest residents are more informed, than those of us that have been here a long time. So we're really looking to reach out for that and build a bit of an ambassador and a pride program for being in Oxford County. We're also looking to work with the outdoor farm show and hopefully extend some visits for people actually on the industry side that are coming, getting them to extend their stays and look at other opportunities to increase more visitation to the area. Because obviously the days that the farm show is running, accommodations are full. How can we extend those? And then also, we're really looking at improving our communication with the businesses. We have an industry newsletter, which you all can sign up for as well. And what we're doing is we're looking at really theming that and providing consistent content on a variety of topics that are of value to the businesses. So that's a bit of an overview of what we have going on for this year. Something I always like to remind people of is we're a resource that's available, to the businesses, but also to the municipalities. And we regularly partner with rural Oxford, who's been a fabulous partner for us to work with, including on the Tourism Innovation Grant that we do with them and also Community Futures Oxford. But we also have access to data. So if it's a matter if you're looking for information about the community, we are regularly working and collecting information about who's coming to the area, but then also, what's the average person in Oxford County? What are their interests? What are people looking to do? We also do photography partnership as well, and we're actually doing it this year with rural Oxford again. And then we have our business outreach collaborations. So if there's information to get out to businesses, so for instance, we've shared when other municipalities are having an event looking for vendors, we have a contact list of over 300 businesses, so we're happy to push that out and share that information as well and help everybody grow together. So that's a quick overview. I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from Council? Councillor Demers.
You guys do some great work, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. I wanted to ask you a little bit about RVing and glamping. Do you see that taking hold in Oxford County at all? We just have such beautiful rural areas especially. And if there's one thing I hear about people looking to come to our area is that they don't have enough choice as far as staying overnight or whatever. But I see a huge movement generally to have those kind of opportunities.
Yeah.
Like RVing and glamping and stuff like that. You're smiling, so I'm thinking the answer is yes.
Yeah. So through the mayor, yes, glamping definitely is something that's of interest, and there are some sites where people are going out now and finding glamping sites that people have rented out space on their property. So a great example of that is if you go to Greener Pastures Eco Farm, and they have set up for the RVs to come in themselves. But then we have Utterly Ridiculous with their glamping experience, which is fabulous and is actually part of a 2-region marketing promotion to bring people to the area that we are excited to work with the 2 regional tourism organizations on. Yes, as for people purchasing and going out with RVs, it has decreased apparently some, but there is still a huge audience out there for it. But yeah, any opportunities for accommodations, we're always happy to talk about them. And we also collect information on, short-term rentals as well. And we have that type of information for the county and can be sharing that with you as well. Yeah.
Anything else from Council? Councillor Bamber?
Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering, do you contact the local inns and hotels and that sort of thing to garner information as to where people are coming from? I know you don't want to impose on any of us. Freedom of information fact, I guess. But
yeah.
Do you do that to know how many people are actually coming into Oxford County every month, for example?
Well, through the mayor. So we're actually collecting data at a level above that by working with our regional tourism organization. And so, yeah, we find out how many people are coming on overnight. We're getting information on the short-term rentals, and we can tell you where they're coming from as on a group population level. Nothing personal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yes, we are gathering that information, and we know where our visitors are coming from. We do get a lot that come from the area, from the GTA, obviously. It's very popular, particularly the west side of the GTA, Mississauga, Oakville. But we do have people coming from further abroad as well, and we even have a loyal U.S. following as well.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is it maintaining?
So we recently had a post up thanking a writer online and who wrote about, supporting and purchasing Canadian cheese right now. I don't know why we would comment on that one. But yes, so what happened was a person that is a big fan of the area and has been in the past actually shared it and was telling all their friends to come to the area, and they are going to be coming again this year. So, yeah, we say, when you go to some of the tourism meetings, it's, elbows up, arms out. We're always wanting to welcome people to the area and let people see what makes this area magical.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much coming this way as going the other way. I think that seems to be the slowdown effect.
Probably a large opportunity if we advertise more in the States to bring people to Canada. So I think they look at us favorably. We just don't look at them favorably.
Well, they need to know that they're welcome to visit.
Yeah.
So it's important that we communicate that we're very excited to have people visit the area.
Anything else from council? Thank you very much for coming out. I definitely don't get very often anybody saying they enjoy driving our gravel roads, so it's great to say. I'm sure our Director of Public Works will like that because we don't get
He's
that.
very well aware.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that the delegation from Meredith Maywood, Tourism Manager with Oxford County regarding a tourism update be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay. We're into correspondence. You're just, you're a little ahead. Okay, we have correspondence specific. Do you want to go ahead and read that? And then I'll...
Do you want to ask any questions first or no?
Yeah, I can. Any questions on, are you doing both of them together?
No.
Both separate? Okay. Anything on the city of Greater Sudbury?
Are we going
Comments?
to endorse, Mr. Mayor, are we going to endorse the one from Sudbury?
Yes, we can if that's council's, if that's what's in our resolution. Yep. Okay.
But yeah, that's been kind of ongoing for about 10 years.
Yep. Okay.
And it could affect any municipality, really.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, go ahead then.
Be it hereby resolved that the Council of the Township of Blandford-Blenheim endorse the resolution from the City of Greater Sudbury petitioning the province to amend the Occupational Health and Safety Act to clarify the definition of employer to exclude owners that have contracted with a constructor for a project, and further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable David Piccini, Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, the Honourable James Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Attorney General of Ontario, Doug Downey, the MPP for Oxford County, Ernie Hardeman, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Council of Construction Associations, Ontario Construction Associations, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Greater Sudbury for further action.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and our next one is for the Township of Zora opposing strong mayor powers. Any comments on that, or questions on that, I guess? Can save the comments till after. Okay, go ahead.
Your Worship, I'm looking for direction regarding whether we'd like to support the long form resolution or just support the Township of Zora and forward a resolution to them.
What would council's?
Or would we like to circulate in advance of?
What's council's wishes?
I think I would support the second one.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Whereas the Ontario government has expanded the strong mayor powers to 169 additional municipalities under the proposed legislation, which would grant mayors in these municipalities more authority, particularly concerning the control of municipal budgets and planning decisions. And whereas this proposal has raised significant concerns regarding the centralization of power, erosion of local democracy, reduced accountability, and the potential for the abuse of power. And whereas the proposed expansion of strong mayor powers undermines the collaborative nature of municipal governments and diminishes the role of elected municipal councillors in representing the diverse interests of the community. And whereas concerns have been raised about the negative impacts on public trust, democratic participation, and municipal decision-making processes. if mayors are given the ability to bypass council decisions without adequate consultation or oversight. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Blandford-Blenheim opposes the expansion of strong mayor powers, and that the council formally expresses its opposition to the Ontario government's proposal to expand strong mayor powers to preserve local democracy, transparency, and accountability, and that the council encourages advocacy for democratic principles and for municipal governance systems that prioritize collaboration, inclusivity, and democratic engagement. Further be it resolved that a copy of this motion be forwarded to the Ontario Premier, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, as well as the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for further action.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments on this? So I'll just throw a couple comments out, I guess. This last round that went out, the first time it was optional. This last time through is mandatory. You're getting it whether you like it or not. I think the reason behind us not getting it is because of the vote structure behind it. It didn't make sense. I think it's a 1/3 vote, I believe. So if you think of a 1/3 vote with 5, it would be like normal anyway. It'd be 3 people, right? 1/3 plus 1, I believe is what it is. So if you think of where we are, that's going to be 3 out of the 5 anyway to get to there, the number wise. So that's probably why we weren't. The other ones were 7 and above, so their numbers would be less than that 50%. So I don't know how it would work coming here. I don't see it being a change because it would still be a majority. So I'm not sure whether it'll come here. I know personally for me, I have no use for it, to me. I think it's democratic that we do what we do, and I think that's the way it all should be. Any of the ones that I know that got it agree 100% that way, but I'm sitting in the chair right now. I don't know who will be in the chair in another year from now, right? So that, because once you have it, it's forever. I know Woodstock accepted it. I don't think they can opt out of it if another mayor comes in. I don't know for sure. But, you know, that person sitting in that seat can share it. And plus staff as well. It affects all the staff here as well, right? Because as strong mayor powers, you can literally, I don't think as strong mayor powers, you don't need council's direction to remove somebody from staff. So, and it has happened in Ontario already. There has been mayors that have just said, you're fired. And so you think of all the, just the language of compensation for staff, that's all going to change coming forward. So I like I say, I am not in favor of it at all, but who knows who's going to be sitting here someday down the road, and possibility could be there. So, all right, that's about all I have. All those in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, that goes through. Now we'll get staff reports. Trevor. Welcome, Trevor.
Just got 2 council reports today for you guys. The first report is potential partnership agreement. Looking for direction from council to proceed with partnership agreement with the Drumble Agriculture Society for the use of their facility to host early on year programs. There's a few different options that we're going to talk about today, but the background of this information is did a report to council on December 18th, outlining the partnership agreements with groups in our township that can help better our community needs. We know that early on programming and VON and Ox on the Run are Oxford County run programs. They run out of our facilities now. So we do not have a facility in Drumbo. They run in Princeton and Plattsville existing. So we'd like to explore putting these programs in Drumbo. So I went to a meeting with the Drumbo Agriculture Society on January the 13th. They formed a committee to discuss what it would take us to get the hall for to run these programs. They came back to me on March 14th with a proposal of that the township cuts the grass, township provides snow removal, and an additional $1,000 cash contribution to their facility, and this would allow early on year programs to run for 3 hours a week for 48 weeks roughly. They only wanted to explore the early on year programs at this time. So from just looking for council's feedback on how to proceed with this negotiation, there's lots of different ways we can go. Option A would be to accept the proposal from Drumbo Agriculture Society. There are a few contingencies in this, though, with their proposal. Staff approached the insurance company. It has been sent to the underwriter to review if we can do the snow. And so there's two things with snow. The insurance company, it's a high-risk program, and we need to get a better schedule if we go back to them with when we would need to do the snow. We'd have to make sure that our staff can do the snow in-house. Those are the contingencies on the snow. We'd want to make sure that early on years committed to a 1-year agreement with us. Verbally, they have. We haven't signed anything. Verbally, they said they would come there for 1 year for this program to be run there, but at this time, nothing has been signed because we don't have the hall. So the snow has 2 contingencies in it, and the early on years does have contingencies in it. So we're just waiting on insurance, and we need to meet with the committee one more time to see the timing of the snow. Option B is prepare and submit a counteroffer, and option C would be decline the partnership opportunity at this time. These programs, like I said, are run out of Plattsville and Princeton existing. From a financial point of view, it'd be cost around the $5,000 mark. But like I said, we do have these programs early on. It is located in Princeton weekly. It's on Wednesdays, 9 to 11, and Plattsville weekly, Thursdays, 9 to 11. Ox on the Run, they run out of our Bright, Drumbo, Plattsville parks, and other township facilities like this office. They've done programming here in the wintertime. And the VON program runs weekly in the Princeton Hall and weekly in the Plattsville Hall. So we do have offer programs in our township. This is just exploring more programs within our township, in our small towns, and Drumbo was highlighted. I would imagine if we owned a hall in Drumbo today, we would have these programs in this town. So this is just looking for township's recommendation on how to move forward with which option we'd like to move forward with. And we'd like to move forward with any of the options presented in this report.
Councillor Banbury.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what if another group or entity came along and wanted to use the Drumbo facility as well? Would that increase the, what we have to pay for the use of the hall? Or would that, how would that affect?
If somebody else wanted to come and use it weekly, you mean, or?
Yeah, as an example, yeah, or one of the other groups that are in Plattsville and Princeton. No.
Oh, you mean Ox on the Run, or yes, right now they did not want to explore anything but early on.
What if they did? What if something?
If something else comes up, we'd have to go back and they might ask for more. Yes, that's based on basically what they're, it's 144 hours a year of early on year programs for this agreement. That's what they're saying. They only want to deal with early on at this time. They don't want to deal with Ox on the Run or the VON programming.
Okay. Councillor Demhurst.
Just for clarity, the costs that you've associated with grass cutting and snow removal, that's opportunity cost, right? It's not pure, like you're not going to be hiring people.
No, that's where the contingency is on the snow removal, to make sure we can do it in a timely fashion that they request. But the grass cutting, no, we will not have to hire any more staff.
Okay, so the only incremental cost might be additional premiums on our insurance.
Right.
If we do the snow removal.
Right.
Right?
And yes.
So the pure cost, budget cost would be $1,000 plus an incremental amount on our insurance.
Yeah.
Maybe some salt or sand or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And if the insurance company allows us to do it, that's what the underwriter is looking at it now. So, because snow is a high risk
What, just off the top of my head here, so the cost to rent the hall is roughly $5,000 would be a year? Like if we just rented the hall and
If we
had the
rented,
program in
if
there,
we rented the hall, their daily rental would be more than that, than what their daily rental is, I don't have that number here, but to rent the hall, we can go back and explore that too if you'd like. This was just, I don't have that number in front of me.
I'm just wondering, it's hard for us to make a decision if we don't know what the insurance, because if we're keeping the snow clean, so make sure I'm right here, we're going to keep the snow clean for every event they have at the hall.
That's their request, yes.
Yeah, so I would think our liability might be a lot more, especially when you're talking on Buckendall's weddings or whatever there, right? Those liability costs are.
It depends on the year you have too. You could have a lot more snow one year than the
Yeah.
other year as well, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna be putting in more fuel, more salt, more, all that stuff.
Well,
right?
and now we'd be looking at overtime possibly every,
Right.
like you could have something on a Saturday night, a Friday night, or Sunday night, or whatever, and now we're looking at overtime, even during the week. Like I think, our Lions Club, uses the hall. So if we had a meeting on a 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, now we have to have somebody paying them overtime to look after the snow removal, sidewalk cleaning, whatever. So it could become very costly. Councillor Young.
I wondered if it was worth exploring or asking about maybe doing it 3 seasons of the year. I know I can't speak to Princeton, but I know in Plattsville it's often canceled because of the weather. Maybe again, that's this year, but it was canceled, I think, a number of times this year. So I wonder if it does come back, that it is a challenge with the insurance or the snow removal, whether that's a consideration. And another thought or question I have is, are people from Drumbo currently accessing the early on in Plattsville or Princeton?
I think they're going to Princeton, I've been told, from the early on. I mean, it's not high numbers there in Princeton, but there are some people going to Princeton. Yes. The Plattsville one, I think, is mostly local Plattsville people.
I think the hardest part for us to make any decision without knowing what our liability risks are going to be through the insurance company, I wonder if we should maybe defer this to at least our next meeting, or until we get that answer, right? I think these programs are great, and the more programs we get, the Ox on the Run one, well, it's a portable unit anyway. It wouldn't be using it inside the hall, but
Well, they have run programs out of here, like in the winter time and
okay.
stuff. Like that's.
Yeah. So that's just my thought. I think we should maybe defer it at least till the next meeting, until we get insurance costs and everything looking forward. Yep. Councillor Demers.
And, if I'm understanding this correctly, it seems like, I guess my concern is, there's a $5,000 value put on this. And if VON, and, to Councillor Banbury's point, if VON or Ox on the Run come in and want to do their programs as well, we're kind of setting a precedent here for another $5,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
In value. Like, it might not
yeah.
be snow
Yeah.
removal, it might not be.
Might be something.
These other things, but it seems really overcomplicated. It'd be nice to know just how much would it cost to rent the hall for the time that they need,
Yeah.
right?
That's exactly my thought.
Without all the extras.
Then we get rid of all that extra liability cost.
And all summer, they run outside. They can run in the park.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So there's other times they wouldn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we should defer this at least till the next meeting, until we discuss whether there's other options, or at least, at the very least, I think we need to know what our insurance, and it's hard to put a dollar figure on what we're going to do for overtime. Like, I don't know how, most of the functions at that hall are in the afternoon, or at nighttime. So we're looking at paying guys overtime every single time for a function.
And I'm sorry, I just kind of feel like we're not in the business of supplying snow removal service.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit outside of our scope.
Yeah.
To be asked to do something like this. You know, I would rather that they put a value on renting the facility as opposed to this trade-off business.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, go ahead.
Why are we even involved in this? Why don't they go straight to the Ag Society?
The program is, they don't they don't rent halls. They just get them for free. So the idea behind it was if we can get them here, and they've come to us to explore Drumbo before. So we knew that was on our highlighted radar that early on wanted to run programs out of here. So we were trying to be the middle person to try to bring that here. And if it meant cutting grass or doing something, like how can we get this to come here without potentially increasing costs that much? So that's the only reason why this was explored. We approached them. We approached the Ag Society and said, because the early on years program and VON said, hey, if you ever get anything in Drumbo, please let us know.
Yeah.
So this was just a way to see how we can explore that. And
I think the mayor is correct. We should defer this.
Yeah.
And just to put things in context, when I came on council, 18 years ago or 19, whatever it is, 19, I guess, I was told that the hall here in Drumbo was the cheapest one that we have in the township because we didn't have to pay a thing, but we have a community hall right here in Drumbo. So all these years, we've been basically, for the residents of the township or the Drumbo area, they've been able to take advantage of the Ag Hall. Didn't cost the township really a penny. So I think we need to keep that in mind or in context when we're thinking about this cost here.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we've been getting or the township or the residents, I should say, the taxpayers have been getting a pretty good deal because obviously if they wanted to use the hall for a particular reason, they'd have to pay rent, but it's the same with ours. But we haven't had to maintain or do any upkeep for that building there. Yeah, it's the Ag Society, so I think we could give ourselves a little bit of leeway to sponsor something, but I think I agree with the mayor. We better wait until we have some more concrete figures to work with.
Okay. All right.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2505 be received as information, and further that council defer the decision regarding whether to proceed with a partnership agreement with the Drumbo Agricultural Society for the use of their facility to host early on programming to a subsequent meeting.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Banbury. Any comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and your next one.
Yeah, next report's just a monthly report for the Community Services Department. We have offered 2 candidates for the position of Operator 1 within the Community Services Department. One individual started today, the other one will start on May 12th. We have the Township's 50th anniversary in Princeton. The Princeton Heritage Committee has finalized their plans. In this report, you'll find the advertisement that they're using for their open house. It will feature exhibits highlighting the township's history over the past 50 years. Talking to the committee, they'd like to, hopefully that township staff and council and the mayor could come out to their event. That's this Saturday. So they'd like to express their invite to everybody. The arena, ice was removed on April the 8th. We have since hosted a lacrosse tournament and PDP minor ball practices and some other lacrosse practices in there as well since the ice has been removed. Roller skating season has started at the arena. Thursdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Continue until the end of August. Parks and facilities, we've been preparing the baseball diamonds. We had a tournament the last weekend, May 1st weekend. Pretty busy. All the parks were busy. They used all 5 baseball diamonds. All park amenities are open except for the splash pads. We're going to plan on opening them on June 1st, but we do have a follow-up with the health inspector for May 20th to inspect our splash pads, and if the weather is nice like it has been in the past, we have opened them up a little bit early. Cemeteries, we've been working in our cemeteries, and we've noticed that there's a few plaques missing. Brass plaques have been stolen. This has been a common thing throughout the area. So they're stealing brass plaques in the cemeteries. Been in response to other cemeteries and other townships to see what the best way to communicate that out to the general public is. Because we're not going to know who had a brass plaque. We're not going to know what's missing. So we're just in talks with other cemeteries and some other townships of should we just do a mass social media announcement that you might want to go look at your stones to make sure that everything's there. Like I said, we don't have any record of what's there, so we're working on that. So
Okay. Anything from council? No? Councilor Banbury.
What do they do with these plaques?
I would
Melt them down?
I would imagine that's what everybody's saying. They're melting them down because I can't see them taking them to any scrapyard and getting money for them if they don't melt them down.
That's downright despicable.
Yes, and it's like I said, it's just not in our township. It's across the board. So.
Yep. Absolutely. Anything else from council? Okay. Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report CS 2506 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any? And that's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and next, Jim Borden, our Director of Public Works. A little later than I thought.
Afternoon, Council. I will be quick so the mayor can get home to watch the Leafs win.
No doubt.
This is my monthly report. So the Princeton project's going well. The ponds are pretty much completed. Ducks Unlimited has been notified to come in and do their plantings. The Phase 4 construction, they will be starting on Main Street probably this week. If not this week, definitely next week. Bridge 24, we have the archaeological dig scheduled for this May. We've been in contact with the indigenous groups and everything is set up with them to attend. The bridge deck repair on Township Road 5 is going well. That is expected to be completed by the end of the month. I've been working with Cat and John Deere on the new replacement grader. Right now, there's no tariffs. We are looking, there's a few in transit that may be a little bit cheaper than a newer one, but a further report will follow for that. Surface treatment, Township Road 6. This is a section between Blandford Road and County Road 22. If you remember, this was a carryover from 2024 work. It will be done May 29th and 30th. And our fiber mat work that was previously approved will be done later on in August. Our service sharing group, we had a large discussion at our last meeting in regards to load restrictions. The county has gone ahead and implemented a program where their Director of Public Works now has the power to put on early or take off early those roads. So the rest of the area municipalities are looking to follow suit with that. So it's consistent throughout all of Oxford. There is an MTO tracking module tool that the county is currently using that we will all be looking at using. So again, you can expect a report on that later on as well. Another good news, our road association, we held our 2025 Safety Truck Rodeo on April 17th. We did have 3 staff members attend from Blandford-Blenheim. 2 of them actually tied for 3rd place, Dennis Bolt and Sean Crozier. AORS, of course, with the trade show coming up very soon in June. With all the delegations that were here tonight, AORS will be coming the 21st to do a presentation on the trade show for council. Any questions?
Okay, any questions from council on the report? Councillor Demers.
With respect to the load restrictions,
Yes.
will you still have the ability to move that date up, or is now the control all in the hands of the Director of Public Works at Oxford County?
No, it will be the directors for the municipalities, so I would have that for Blandford-Blenheim. But we're looking at more consultation with the other area municipalities so that we're kind of all on the same dates.
Yeah. I can appreciate the need for consistency, but, as recently as 3 weeks ago, I had a farmer comment on the wisdom of council for making sure that those dates were, put up, because it makes a material difference for our farmers to get a load of fertilizer in quicker. A week, 3 days, they can get on the land, they want to start working. So I just don't want to lose control of our ability to be able to, depending on the weather, allow that to happen.
Yeah, no, we will still have, the control will still lie with us. And to your point, Councillor Demers, the dates that we moved up have really shown, and which is Zora and ourselves, as you know, go on February 15th. We're the only ones that go off April 15th. The rest still go off April 30th. But they've all said that, those are more concrete dates. Everyone is seeing typically after the 15th, the springs that we're seeing are earlier, the frost is out of the ground. So again, kudos to our council for approving that. And Norwich ran into an issue, I believe it was February 21st, as theirs did not go on until March 1st. They had a large construction project happen and actually completely destroy one of their surface treated roads that they had just done in 2024 because there was just so much moisture in the ground that it should have been on, very similar to ours. So,
Anything else from council? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report PW 2507 be received as information.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Demarest. Any comments? I just had a couple here I wrote down and I forgot. I'm sorry. I had one of the residents call me about us. Remember we talked about the possibility of crosswalks? And they wondered with the new construction if there was thoughts of designing those crosswalks into that new construction.
So in Princeton, we're speaking?
Yes, sorry.
So there will be a crosswalk at Peter Street.
Okay.
That is the only current one, but we can certainly look at doing one possibly at...
Peter, is that near the park?
It's the south end of the park, yes.
Okay. All right. That was one. And just one other about the train tracks in Princeton. Anything new on it? They're absolutely... You shouldn't even be driving over them with a car. That's how bad they are.
That's right.
They're absolutely horrible.
Yep. So again, that's County Road 3, Oxford County. They have been told about it several times. My understanding is they are working with CN to come up with alternatives. We're hoping that we'll see possibly the concrete, similar to what they did on Oxford Road 29, just out on the west side of Drumbo here.
I'm going to see if I can make a push, see if something happens. Councillor Barnes.
Is there any word on the Wolverton, the 8th railroad tracks at all? Being repaired, because you talked about it in the fall, and Nothing yet, so.
I've spoken with CP. They tell me that we're on the list. I have not heard any dates yet other than to keep on them because kind of the squeaky wheel gets it. So I have been sending the emails and we are on their list was what I was told.
Okay. Councillor Demers, I must have opened up the
No,
can of worms.
You reminded me with respect to the crosswalks, when Mr. Gross was here, I think it might have been even last term, I made a request about doing a crosswalk right at 2, because a lot of residents had a lot, I mean, it's Princeton, so, you know, maybe less than half a dozen, but seemed significant. Crosswalk at, right at Highway 2, where whatever the main street there is in Princeton meets, because a lot of people walk across there to get to their homes, etc. So they were asking me, I mentioned it, Mr. Gross, at the time, but it might have fallen off the radar. So I'm going to put it back on the radar.
Okay.
And see if we can get that looked at too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few walkers there just for exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking near the park too.
Yeah.
Something near the park. So,
Apparently, a lot of, people, coming off a 2 and turning left there.
yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
I don't know if a crosswalk will make much difference, but, there's a desire to maybe slow people down or take a
Yeah.
look.
Sorry, I opened up a can.
Yeah, one more thing. I'm just kidding.
All right. All in favor? And opposed to any, and that's carried. Thank you, Jim. Okay, and our last report is from Sarah, our clerk.
Good evening, members of council. You have before you report number DC 2505 regarding a noise exemption request from the Great Lakes ATV Club for various dates throughout the summer and early fall as listed in the proposed resolution. The exemption request has been posted to the township's website outlining the dates, times, and location. And to this date, no comments or concerns have been received in relation to the event. In 2024 and I believe 2023, the same group requested an exemption request for one date, and that date in 2024 was in September. They were granted the request by council, and to our knowledge, there were no issues with the event, with the proceeding of the event. So as such, staff are recommending that council approve the noise exemption request. And that staff would if the approval is forthcoming, staff would notify enforcement staff as well as the OPP of the exemption grant by council.
Any questions on that? Go ahead, Councillor Demers.
Probably just a question for Jim, if you don't mind. We usually get asked for one date, but this is multiple dates. Do you see any particular issues with this? I mean, this group seems quite respectful of neighbors and are always fairly careful, but do you have any, I know it's noise, but do you have any particular concerns?
No, their trail basically crosses, they have a little park area where they do their staging and then they cross up to Route 9. And then they have a small trail through the ditch there. But as you said, they're very respectful to our roads. And we do have our bylaw stating they can drive on our roads. But no issues with this group.
Okay, anything else? Yeah, they've been a good group. They've donated to our food bank here every year, I think, for quite a while. Yeah, they are a good group. And that's the thing, you only need one, like our delegation made earlier. You only need one to ruin it, right? Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that report DC 2505 be received as information and that council authorizes an exemption to section 2 of the township's noise bylaw 2357-2023 for the Great Lakes ATV Club for their members' rides to be held on Saturday, July 12th, 2025 or Saturday, July 19th, 2025, Saturday, August 23rd, 2025, Saturday, September 20th, 2025, and Saturday, October 18th, 2025. Each ride is to be held on the trail located on Township Road 9, 0.5 kilometers east of 846148, Township Road 9 in Bright, Township of Blandford-Blenheim, and further that council provide direction to staff to notify enforcement staff and the OPP of the noise bylaw exemption approved by council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. Any comments? All in favor? And opposed, if any, and that's carried. Okay, and we're on reports from council members. The only two I have is Plattsville Firefighters Breakfast, I believe is 8 to 12 on Saturday. And then a reminder as, what's that? I don't think, yeah. And then Princeton, just a reminder again about the 50th anniversary of Blandford-Blenheim. It's from 10 to 1 on Saturday as well. Okay, Councillor Young.
I just wanted to share that I was at a meeting with the Thames Valley District School Board in Oxford County last Friday. So they were talking about some partnerships and using spaces within the schools and the municipalities and how that would look. And talking about some of the work they've done together between the school board and Oxford County. The only thing that kind of stood out to me that was kind of unfortunate for Oxford County was our childcare spaces have went down 75% in Oxford County, and the next, like, it's not even really comparable to any other area. And really their reasoning, I guess, for that was that our spaces didn't move quickly enough, so were put to other areas that needed them. So anyway, it was just a interesting point that they had shared, and in the future, maybe just seeing how we can use some of our shared spaces between the groups. So that was it for me.
Anything else, Council? No? Just a further comment on that too. I know I've been bringing it up at county, and I've talked to our CAO a bit about this as well. One of the biggest problems is it's all the red tape to try and get those facilities. It's got to be only used for that, and it's all got to be cordoned off, and for each child it has to be so many square meters or whatever, and it's that red tape you're putting in there is making it, because I mean, you think of all the facilities we could use here, but you have to have a standalone facility or something that nothing else can be rented for, and that's hard to find that in our township. So.
And that is what they said also, was
Yep.
that we have limited facilities, which we know maybe that's maybe not really that true, but with the regulations it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, nothing else? All right, no unfinished business, motions, notice of motions, new business, closed session.
Be it hereby resolved that council move into closed session under the authority of Section 239 of the Municipal Act at 6:11 p.m. to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees. Section 239-2B regarding ROEDC board member appointment.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried, and we'll just wait till we're shut off. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved that council does now adjourn from closed session and resume into open session at 6:22 PM and reports the following: that council provided direction to staff regarding report CAO 2512, recommending Keith Zaire for appointment to the ROEDC Board of Directors.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Okay, and let's do our bylaws.
Be it hereby resolved that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time. A, 2495-2025 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended for ZN 12502. And B, 2496-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Barnes, second by Councillor Banbury. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. And our third reading.
Be it hereby resolved that the following bylaws be now read a third and final time. A, 2495-2025 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 1360-2002 as amended for ZN 12502. And B, 2496-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Young. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. Anything under other? Nope. Adjournment to our next meeting, May 21st.
Whereas business before council has been completed at 6:23 PM, be it hereby resolved that council adjourn to meet again on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 at 4 PM.
Okay, mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Demers, second by Councillor Barnes. All in favor? Opposed, if any? And thank you, Council.